Okay, first you are going to take your stencil and center it on the piece of your painted plywood. Take a piece of painter's tape and tape it to the plywood so that the stencil does not move. This is called the hinge method, and this way we can make sure that our design is centered. Now take the backing piece of your stencil, peel it off and make sure all the pieces of the stencil are intact, and then cut just a strip of that backing piece off. And then you're going to take your vinyl scraper tool and smooth out that stencil onto the piece of plywood so that it's nice and adhered. And now, since that has not moved, take off the painter's tape, peel off the rest of your backing piece, make sure all the pieces of the stencil are intact, and then smooth out all the bubbles so that your stencil is nice and flat. Now we are going to peel off our clear transfer tape. Start in a corner and start peeling off the tape. You want to go from corner to corner. You don't want to peel up and down. You want to pull it across the design. Now make sure each small piece of the stencil is in place. If any part of the blue stencil starts to come up, rub it with your finger and slowly peel the clear transfer tape away. Then grab your scraper tool again and smooth out your stencil so that there are no bubbles in the stencil. To prevent the dark paint from bleeding underneath the stencil, we need to seal each edge of the stencil with white paint. That way when we paint the black paint, we get nice crisp edges. So take your small sponge and you're going to dab up and down. We're not going to wipe across like a normal paintbrush. You're going to dab up and down. After the white layer has dried completely, take a little bit of your black paint and follow the same technique, dabbing up and down with your sponge. You don't want to go heavy on the paint. Make sure it's nice and even and a small thin layer. Once that layer is completely dry, you're going to do it one more time if you want very stark black lines. Wait at least 10 minutes or until the paint has completely dried, and then you're going to take the blue stencil off, following the same technique as the transfer tape. Start in the corner and slowly peel it away. Make sure the paint is very dry before you do this step. And then you're just going to take the rest of the stencil off. Use a pair of pointy tweezers to get the small insides of the designs out. For staining your frame pieces, you'll want to put on a pair of latex gloves and make sure you wear your apron because the stain will not come out. You'll see in each frame piece that there are pre-drilled holes in each piece, and that will help us assemble it to our piece of plywood. Take a sponge brush and dip it into the stain of your choice. Dab a little off of the can, and then you're going to wipe with the grain back and forth, adding stain to the piece of wood. Then take a clean paper towel and wipe off all the excess stain and oil from your piece of wood. The longer you let the stain sit on the wood, the darker the stain will be. Continue staining each piece until all 4 pieces have been stained. Then you'll want to set them up so that they can dry completely. After everything has completely dried, it's time to assemble. First, we're going to do a dry fit. Find where your pre-drilled holes are on each piece and lay them against the plywood. There are 2 ways you can assemble it depending on which look you're going for. The traditional way is having the frame piece stick out for more of a box frame, or you can turn your frame pieces around so that the frame lays flush with your design. The technique is the same, but for this example, I'm just going to stick with the traditional box frame. Take a short frame piece and lay it against your plywood so that the edges are straight and flush. Then you're going to take one of the finish nails, put it into the hole, and hammer it in place. If you need an extra set of hands to help hold the pieces in place, go ahead and grab a buddy, and this works best if it's done on a very flat, hard surface, just like the cement patio floor. You're going to do the exact same thing for the other short frame piece. Next, you'll want to put together the large frame pieces on each side. They have holes along the plywood as well as holes to attach to the other frame pieces. The finishing step is to attach our sawtooth hanger. Turn it over and grab your sawtooth hanger so that all the little teeth are pointing down. This will help you hang it wherever you'd like. Center it on the plywood towards the top. Make sure it's not on the frame so that the frame piece does not pull out with the pressure when it is hanging. Then you'll take one of the tiny little nails, put it in the hole, and push down with your finger so it holds it in place. And as you hold it, grab your hammer and hammer that tiny little nail into the hole. And you are all done. Hope you enjoy your sign.